Over the last 2 years, the Bushnell Tour V6 Shift is one of the most popular and well-known golf rangefinders on the market. But for a variety of reasons, I haven't recommended that most people buy it. Overall, it's a great device and it does what it says it's going to do pretty well. But these days, there are so many other rangefinders that work as well, if not a little bit better, for significantly less money. So because of this, I've been very excited to get my hands on this. This is the brand new Bushnell Tour V7 Shift, and it does some new things that not only have never been seen in the Bushnell Tour lineup, but at least one of these I don't believe has ever been seen in any Bushnell rangefinder. Today, I'm gonna do a full review. I'm gonna tell you what I like, what I don't, and help you figure out if you should consider buying the Bushnell Tour V7 Shift here in 2026. So honestly, over the last couple years, I've been kind of hard on Bushnell when it comes to their rangefinders, despite the fact they are all great. I think the Bushnell Pro X3 is one of the best rangefinders on the market. It's one of the best golf rangefinders that's ever been made. But at $600, most people just don't need to spend that much money. And so I'm excited because a lot of the features that used to only be in that more expensive Pro X3 model have now trickled down into this, which costs $399. This also feels like a good time to mention that if you do decide this is the right one for you, you can use the code BREAKING10. It's gonna knock 10% off of this, bringing it down to $360, which makes it an even better value. If you use that code or if you click any of the links below, I will get a commission for that. If that bothers you, totally understand, go do your own research. But honestly, everything I do here at Breaking 80 is just trying to help you find the right products for your needs. Okay, so let's start with first impressions. Out of the box, this is the Patriot Pack Edition. So in the box, you're going to get the device itself, you're going to get a carrying case, you're gonna need a Bushnell and Folds of Honor divot tool and ball marker, you get a microfiber cloth and some instructions. So nothing overly surprising there. When it comes to presentation and packaging, pretty standard. Nothing overly fancy, nothing surprising. It feels very similar to all of the other Bushnell rangefinders I have reviewed, which is to say it's perfectly serviceable without any extra frills or anything like that. When it comes to the device itself, honestly, it feels really good. This is a really good size. The Pro X3, I mean, it's getting to be pretty big. Like that is a really, really big rangefinder. In fact, I think it's too big for most people. This feels like a much more reasonable size. I feel like this is kind of the perfect size for a rangefinder. It does feel maybe a little bit cheaper than the X3, but still feels very solid and well built. There's some nice texturing on the top as well as down below. So it just makes it a little bit easier to grip and does make it feel a little more high end. Unlike a lot of new rangefinders these days, this does use a traditional rangefinder battery, so it does not charge via USB-C, which I personally like. I would rather have a regular battery than USB charging if you were giving me an option. 2 buttons on the top, one for power and ranging, and one for all of your settings, which we will talk about in a second. And then on the other side, you have the Bushnell Bite Magnet so that you can put it up on a golf cart and inevitably lose it. Overall, first impressions are, it's great. Like, it's really solid. Like, there's nothing super surprising about it. It feels really good. It feels really nice. I don't look at it and say, oh my God, this is like the most well-built, nicest rangefinder I've ever seen in my life. But also it feels representative of typically what you will see in that like $400 price point. Feels like typical Bushnell quality, which we are used to seeing. And I really like the size of it. So before we go into performance, we should talk a little bit about a couple of the things that are unique to this device. So first off, this is the first time that I know of that Bushnell has done a dual color OLED screen in the viewfinder. So what that means is when you look through the viewfinder, if you have slope enabled, everything will be red. You'll see the actual distance in red, but right below that in green, you will see the slope adjusted distance. I really like this. There aren't that many rangefinders that do a dual color LED screen. We see it with the Voice Caddy TL1, which has largely been my pick for most people over the last couple of years. We've seen it with the Nikon Cool Shot Stabilize series and a couple others, but this is the first time I can remember we've seen both red and green dual color in a Bushnell device, and it definitely makes it feel more high-end than the previous V6 model. But as I'm saying this, I realized I kind of got ahead of myself a little bit, because not only does it have a dual color OLED screen, you get that red and green, but the old V6 model, it didn't have red at all. It just had black optics. The higher end Pro X3 gives you the option to toggle back and forth between red and black, which is really nice. But I gotta say, the red in this looks really crisp, really clean, and just that alone makes it feel like a big upgrade over the outgoing model. Then you throw in the dual color part with the green slope, and it feels even better. So just in terms of optics, this is definitely a big upgrade over the V6. Speaking of optics, this has 6x magnification, and overall, it looks really, really good. I do prefer 7x optics like you get with the Pro X3, but generally you are only going to find that in more high-end rangefinders, and the Tour series has never had that. it's always been 6x. That being said, the glass looks really crisp, really clear, and with that red display, it looks even better. One minor issue I've had with this comes down to eye relief. So basically what that is if you're ever looking through a rangefinder or a set of binoculars and you can't quite get your eye to line up so you can look through the viewfinder, that's called eye relief. And with the Bushnell Tour Hybrid rangefinder that I reviewed a few months ago, honestly, it was kind of the worst eye relief that I'd had. I had a really tough time kind of trying to line my eye up and get it in the right position. The more I used it, the better it got, but it was definitely something that I noticed. And it's something that I've also noticed with this device as well. It's not as bad as it was with the Tour Hybrid, but it does feel a little bit worse than I've seen with other Bushnell rangefinders and other rangefinders in the market. I should say though that it is pretty minor, and most of you probably aren't going to notice unless you've reviewed a whole bunch of rangefinders. Once you kind of find the sweet spot and you get used to using it, really not that big of a deal, but it was something I did want to mention. When it comes to distances, this thing is great. I've had zero issues getting it to lock onto a flag really quickly. Now, along with what they call jolt, that vibration when it locks onto the flag, you are also getting a red ring around the viewfinder that is another trickle-down feature from the Pro X3 series, so it's just one more indicator that you know you are locked onto the flag. One thing I want to note is that with a lot of cheaper rangefinders that have this feature, what you'll find is that it is going to vibrate anytime you range any distance. So if you shoot the hill, if you shoot the tree, if you shoot the flag, it's going to vibrate every single time you do that. One of the great things about this device is it is only going to vibrate if it knows it is locked onto the flag. To me, I found this to be such an important feature, and this does it really, really reliably. And this is one of the big things that other rangefinders miss. But again, this is probably not something you would notice or care about unless you have done a bunch of these reviews or really know how this system is supposed to work. But I gotta say, this is a really big deal. The fact that it does that flag lock vibration so accurately really is one of the best features of this, and that's not something I can say for a lot of other models out there. Hey, real quick, are you subscribed yet? What are you waiting for? Go hit the button, up, down, up, wherever it is. I'll wait. 3, 2, 1. Thank you, I appreciate you, and I don't think you're gonna be disappointed. All right, back to the review. So to recap, feel, really nice, great size, maybe not the most robust, most high-end, best build quality I've ever seen, but still very good and representative of the price point. The optics and the display, by far the best I have seen in a Tour Series Bushnell rangefinder, and honestly, it's one of the best displays I've seen in any rangefinder. Accuracy, flag lock, vibration, everything is excellent. This rangefinder has done everything I hoped it would, and honestly, it's even done it a little bit better than I expected. I was not prepared for just how much of an upgrade this feels like over the V6, because previously, you go to the V3, the V4, the V5, the V6, it was all kind of minor. I don't really feel like you got a whole lot of meaningful upgrades. Well, this really does feel like a meaningful upgrade, and what's kind of cool is we're not done. There's one more feature I want to talk about, which is another first for the Tour Series for Bushnell, and that is the link-enabled technology that comes with this. So what is link-enabled technology? So essentially what that means is if you have a Bushnell or Foresight launch monitor, you can go and do a bag mapping session within the app. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna hit a handful of balls with every single club, and then it's gonna tell you what all of your average distances are and your dispersion for every club in your bag. And then from there, what link-enabled technology will do is when you pair this with the Bushnell app, which then syncs with your Foresight account to get all of your club data, this will give you on-course club recommendations based on your actual yardages. Now, before we go any further, if you've watched some of my other reviews, you know that I think this technology is maybe a little gimmicky. I don't think that most golfers really need this. It's one of those things that's maybe kind of nice to have, but I don't see it being this ultimate game changer that a lot of the brands might want you to believe. That being said, if it's something that excites you, it is cool that you can now get that technology in this device when it was previously only available in the much more expensive Pro X3. Earlier this week, I went and I took my Bushnell Launch Pro and I did a bag mapping session within the new Foresight app. The new Foresight iPad app is excellent. I really, really like it. But there was a little bit of a hiccup when I was doing my bag mapping. I went out, I did the whole thing. Basically, to keep it brief, I only hit 3 shots per club. I went through everything. At the end, I hit the button to sync my account and it said it couldn't do it. I think I hit a total of like 50 balls and all of that data was lost. I was pretty frustrated, but I wanted to see if I could get it fixed, so I went through. It turns out there was an update to the app. I updated the app. I then started this time with just 1 club, and it worked properly that time. And then I did 4 clubs, and it worked properly that time. And at this point, for the whole range session, I was probably like 100 balls deep, but I was like, well, we're set up. I want to know how well this works, so let's go through and do it again. So I finished out my session. It worked this time. This is not something I expect is going to be an issue for you, but it happened to me, so I did want to talk about it. I then synced my Foresight account with the Bushnell app, so so it would have all of my club data. And then I connected the V7 to the Bushnell app, which honestly was very seamless. It works just like connecting any other Bluetooth device to your phone. It took me less than a minute, and I had no issues there. But this is where things kind of caught me off guard and is honestly like kind of cool. So what you'll find is in order to get your club recommendations, you go into the Bushnell app, you start a round on the course that you are playing on, and it's going to give you a GPS overlay of the hole. And then what you will see is based on where you are in the hole, the app will start making club recommendations. But it doesn't just make a club recommendation, it will actually show you a full dispersion chart for multiple clubs from your bag mapping session. So what that means is, let's say I'm 140 yards out, the app will then show me a dispersion of my 8-iron, and then of my 7-iron, and then of my 9-iron, allowing me to make a recommendation based on my actual club data. I've never seen any other app do this, and honestly, it's pretty cool. I will say I only hit like 3 to 4 shots in my bag mapping session. If you were to purchase this and go through the whole process, I would try and get a lot more data points in there just to make sure that it's more accurate. But it really is pretty cool, and I haven't seen any of these other ecosystems display that information in quite the same way. But let's say you do not want to use the app, you don't care about the app. Well, when you are using the V7, it will then take all that data it has, and up in the top left-hand corner of the display, it will give you 2 recommendations for clubs. So these recommendations are based on your stock yardages, so you'll have to do a little mental math and a little computing to figure out under current conditions which the right club is for you. But the fact that it includes that is definitely pretty cool from a tech perspective. Although where the V7 falls a little bit short is taking into account the whole environmental picture. So let's use the more expensive Pro X3 for instance. With its recommendations and its slope numbers, it's also taking into account a bunch of environmental factors like wind, elevation, humidity to give you a more accurate number. The new Arcos Smart Laser does the same thing, and the FlightScope i4 also does this, although it's a little bit more cumbersome because that you have to manually select the direction of the wind. But with the V7, you're not getting any of that environmental data. So I know part of that is probably like, well, we've got a more expensive model that will do that if you want it. But the fact all of this stuff seems to connect and work, that feels like the one missing piece to actually making those club recommendations the most useful. So I'll say in testing these ecosystems, the most accurate plays like distances and club recommendations have come from Arcos, as well as the more expensive Pro X3 rangefinder. One other thing that would have been really nice to see is if you shoot the flag, the fact it now is connected to the app, it would be great if instead of showing you the center of the green, it shows you the actual distance to the flag that you just shot. That is something you can do with the Garmin Z30. It works really well, and then as you are walking up the fairway, that number will adjust with you. As of right now, that's not something this can do. I believe Arcos and Garmin are the only ones that do kind of a version of that, but who knows? Maybe we'll see a firmware update down the line that will add a feature like that. So all that to say, when it comes to connectivity and smart features, the fact this has link-enabled technology at all, it's great. Honestly, the implementation of it works really well. It's super seamless. There are some features with some of the other competing rangefinders that I feel like maybe do a little bit more from the connected standpoint, but this at that $399 price point, or $360 if you use our code, the fact it includes that at all is really nice. So let's sum this all up. Should you buy the Bushnell V7 Shift? And honestly, yeah, I think so. This is probably my favorite Bushnell rangefinder to date. It takes most of the features from the Pro X3, puts it in a smaller size. The screen looks absolutely spectacular. Everything is super accurate, fast, rock solid. I really have very few complaints about this rangefinder. I still think the Voice Caddy TL1, which you can pick up for $280, is very similar to the experience as what you get with this. But with this, you're getting the Bushnell name, you're getting those connected features, and you're probably getting some better customer service if things were to go sideways. Are all of those things worth an extra $80 over the TL1? Well, that's kind of up to you. But if in doing the research, if you're starting to lean towards the V7, if you think this might be the right rangefinder for you, then I would say absolutely go for it. To me, this is my favorite Bushnell rangefinder to date. So to me, this basically feels like a baby Pro X3 and a huge upgrade over the outgoing V6 Shift. With that, my name is Sean Ogle. I'm the founder of this thing here, Breaking Nature. We're talking about cool golf products and cool golf courses. If you got some value out of this, maybe a thumbs up, drop a comment if you have any questions. If you're not subscribed, please do so. It allows me to continue making videos like this for you. And if you're still not sure which golf rangefinder is right for you, go take our 30-second quiz. You're going to answer a few questions around what you were looking for, and I'll give you my best recommendation based on the device that I think is going to be the best fit for your needs. If you're trying to figure out what to watch next, I highly recommend you go take a look at this video right here, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.